Hello students, this is PRABHU'SERA. I am your Prabhu sir. Today video we are going to discuss about female reproductive system part 3, especially uterus golden points. Golden points which are extracted from various reputed NEET biology books as a NEET level. This is a structure of female reproductive system. In part 1, female reproductive system part 1 regarding ovary. In part 2 regarding fallopian tubes as a golden point NEET level already uploaded. The link given in the description box. In this video we are going to discuss about this part, the uterus part. Uterus part is much more important because the fetus, at the time of pregnancy, the fetus develop inside the uterus. Come, let us see that uterus part in detail. First, the morphology of uterus. Uterus have various names, commonly called womb, technically called hystera. Hystera is a Greek word, is much more important in NEET point of view. Hystera. Another term, technical term, metra. It is a well-developed thick muscular structure. Location, all the reproductive organ in the female which is located in the pelvic cavity. So this uterus also present within the pelvic cavity, in between the urinary bladder and the rectum. I will show the pictures. And the size, the length from here to here, the length is 7.5 centimeter. The length, the total length 7.5 centimeter in length. The width from here to here, approximately the width 5 centimeter width. The length 7.5 centimeter, 3 inches we can say, and the width 5 centimeter, 2 inches. Thickness 2.5 centimeter. But at the time of this normal, we technically called empty uterus. Empty uterus means without the fetus inside. At the time of pregnancy, when the fetus inside, when the fetus develop, this normal length with thickness of the uterus increase 20 times at the time of pregnancy. So the uterus have a lot of name, as I said. Just I will show the notes so that it is easy to you to in order to take the notes for best preparation. It have a many name. Womb is a common name. Metra and hystera is a technical term. For the NEET point of view, this term frequently they may ask. And the shape, this is a morphology. The shape of the uterus, periform. Periform, otherwise inverted pear shaped. You may know the pear fruit. Shape of the pears. Just to imagine the pear shape, inverted pear shaped. This is a uterus like this. Imagine this here the fallopian tubes are there. So this is inverted pear shaped, and it's a location. Just now we have discussed location within the pelvic cavity and in between the urinary bladder and rectum. Just now I will show it. The pictures it is given in the NCERT book. See, this is the uterus. This is a uterus. This uterus present between the rectum. This is a rectum and urinary bladder. This is a urinary bladder. So the location within the pelvic cavity, in between the urinary bladder and rectum, the uterus is present. Subscribe our channel. The size of the uterus, the length 7.5 centimeter in length, the width or broad 5 centimeter, and it is approximately the length approximately equal to 3 inches, the width approximately equal to 2 inches, and the thickness 2.5 centimeter. This is under empty uterus. At the time of pregnancy, it has a tendency to increase, expand up to 20 times. All the length, width, thickness, everything may increase up to 20 times. See, the wall of the uterus have a 3 layer. The outermost layer, what I mentioned the blue color, the outermost layer is termed as perimetrium. Metrium means uterus wall. The uterus wall have a 3 layer. Outermost very thin perimetrium. The middle is the middle very thick myometrium. Myometrium. Metrium means wall of the uterus. Myo means muscles. It made up of connective tissue and smooth muscles. The innermost one is a glandular in nature. The innermost one is termed as endometrium. Endometrium. This endometrium only responsible for the formation of placenta. Endometrium only responsible for implantation. Implantation means when the embryo enter inside from the fallopian tube to uterus, it get attached to the wall of the endometrium, wall of the uterus, that is in endometrium. So that endometrium performing two important functions, formation of placenta as well as implantation. So the wall of the uterus have a 3 layer. The outermost layer, very thin membrane, termed as perimetrium. The middle layer, thick and made up of smooth muscle and connective tissue, termed as myometrium. This myometrium only responsible for strong contraction at the time of delivery of the baby. Third one, the innermost one, glandular layer, that is called endometrium, which is responsible for formation of placenta as well as implantation. So you mentioned there are 3 layers in the wall of the uterus: perimetrium, myometrium, endometrium. The main function of the perimetrium, just it protect the inner part of the uterus. So the function of the perimetrium, protection. The function of the myometrium is a very thick wall. It undergo very strong contraction at the time of delivery. So it contract at the time of delivery. This one only generally we are calling as a labor pain. And endometrium performing many function. Very few important function I want to say that. One is formation of placenta. It's much more important. Placenta. Formation of placenta. And another one, it's responsible for fetus. It support the development of fetus. Development of fetus occurs inside in the wall of the endometrium. And third important, much more important point, it undergo some cyclical changes during menstrual cycle. At the time of menstrual cycle, it undergo some cyclical changes. The uterus wall function, the perimetrium responsible for protection, the myometrium responsible for strong contraction at the time of delivery, and which is commonly called the labor pain, and the endometrium undergoes cyclic changes during menstrual cycle. Now let the parts of the uterus. The uppermost part, which is very round structure and thick wall, that is termed as fundus. Fundus, uppermost round and thick walled structure. Then the upper part, where the fallopian tube or oviduct enter inside the uterus. The uppermost part is a fundus. Then just below the fundus, where the fallopian tube enter inside the uterus, is termed as cornua. Cornua. And the prominent middle part is termed as corpus. Corpus, otherwise body of the uterus. Then the terminal narrow part is termed as cervix. This is a cervix part. So there are 4 parts. Number 1, uppermost part fundus, round and thick walled. Then next to the fundus, the upper part where the fallopian tube entered inside the uterus is termed as cornua. Then middle prominent part is termed as corpus or body, and the lower narrow region is termed as cervix. Remember it, cervix also the part of the uterus. There are 4 parts of the uterus. The uppermost part is round and thick walled, termed as fundus. The upper region where the oviduct enter into the uterus is termed as cornua. It's much more important terminology in NEET point of view. And third region, the most middle part, the prominent middle part is termed as corpus or body. Then the lower narrow part, the terminal narrow part is termed as a cervix. The main function of uterus performing a lot of functions. The main few functions which are related to NEET point of view we are going to discuss about is a site of implantation. That means from the fallopian tube. So this is a fallopian tube, this is a uterus. From the fallopian tubes, the embryo get attached to the wall of the uterus. I mean the endometrium. That is called the implantation. So main function of uterus, a site of implantation. Then the second important function, this embryo which is get attached, implanted embryo only developed as a fetus. That developing fetus supported by uterus. So it supports the fetus development, and it whenever the fetus develop, it require nutrient. So this wall of the uterus itself providing nourishment. So nourishment of developing fetus. And as I said already, the endometrium, the wall of the uterus responsible for the formation of placenta. Suppose this consider this a fetus. From the fetus to uterus wall, there is a connection. From that connection, this connection only, it's an intimate connection between the mother's uterus and the growing fetus. This one only we are calling as a placenta, through which the oxygen, carbon dioxide and nutrients are exchanged. It's a much more important part. And it plays a major role in menstrual cycle. And at the time of pregnancy, it's capable of tremendous enlargement. As I said already, from normal uterus to pregnant woman uterus, 20 times it enlarges. The general point related to uterus, the surgical removal of uterus, usually above the 45 or 50 years aged woman, generally some problem it may come in the uterus, so the doctor will recommend to remove the uterus. That surgical removal of uterus is termed as hysterectomy. Hystera is the name of the technical term of the uterus. Tomy means incision or removal by surgery. Then ectopic pregnancy. See, generally in normal pregnancy, fertilization occur inside the fallopian tube. After fertilization over, the embryo enter inside the uterus and it get attached, that is implantation. Then the implanted embryo develop as a fetus, that is called normal pregnancy. If the embryo developing as a process, as a fetus, that process, developing of embryo into fetus, that process is termed as pregnancy. That pregnancy occur inside the uterus part. It's a normal pregnancy. Now, ectopic pregnancy means the pregnancy occurs outside the uterus, other than the uterus, maybe here in the pelvic region or generally in the fallopian tubes. Usually, the embryo fetus cannot survive outside the uterus. It cannot survive. If it is grow also, it disturbs the nearby organ. It causes the life-threatening of pregnant woman as well as growing fetus. 95% of the ectopic pregnancy occur inside the fallopian tubes. 95% of the ectopic pregnancy occur inside the fallopian tube. And this ectopic pregnancy also called as extrauterine pregnancy. Histology of uterus. Histology means study of muscles or tissue of the wall of the uterus. Uterus wall, 3 layer already we have discussed. The outermost one, perimetrium. The perimetrium have a lot of other name. Serosa, adventitia, visceral peritoneum. The middle layer is a muscular layer, myometrium. Myometrium is a thick connective tissue or smooth muscle. The innermost layer is a endometrium. Endometrium, otherwise called mucosa membrane, which is made up of simple columnar epithelial cell. As well as it contains lot of glands because it's a glandular layer, many fibroblast cells, many blood vessels. The main function of this embryo get attached to the endometrium, that is called implantation. It have a lot of gland cells, secretory cell. It secretes the viscous fluid. That viscous fluid only providing nourishment to the embryo, as well as it responsible for protect the ovum. Histology of uterus is a study of type of tissues on the uterus wall. It have a 3 layer. Uterus have a 3 layer. The outer layer termed as perimetrium. Perimetrium also called as serosa, adventitia, visceral peritoneum. Middle layer commonly called myometrium. It's made up of thick, smooth muscle as well as connective tissues. The innermost layer, endometrium. Endometrium also called as simple mucosa membrane, generally mucosa membrane. It is made up of many things, simple columnar epithelial cell, and it contains the lot of substance, glands, various glands, secretory cell, blastocyte cells, blood vessels, and the main function of it, the embryo get attached to the endometrium. This process only we are calling as a implantation. And secretory cell, because of the presence of gland cell, it secretes the viscous fluid. That viscous fluid only provide nutrition as well as it protect the ovum. Now the terminal most narrow part of the uterus is termed as a cervix. This cervix have a 2 constriction. This is one constriction, this is another constriction. So the cervix is called OS cervix, which is generally called OS cervix. OS cervix. OS means orifice. Orifice means constriction. And the cervix have a cavity. That cavity is termed as cervical canal. It is termed as cervical canal. That cervical canal communicate to uterus. This is one opening. Communicate to uterus. Uterus communicate to cervix by the opening. This opening is termed as internal OS. Internal OS. OS means orifice. The cervix communicate to vagina. This is a vagina. The cervical canal communicate to vagina by another opening. This is termed as external OS. This cervical canal along with the vagina is termed as birth canal. Birth canal through which the delivery of the baby occurs, so it is termed as a birth canal. The cervical canal plus vagina termed as a birth canal. Part of the uterus is termed as cervix. The cervix have a two constriction, so called OS cervix. OS cervix. And the cavity of the cervix is termed as cervical canal. Cervical canal. The uterus communicate to cervix by a opening called internal OS or internal orifice. The cervix open into vagina by external OS or external orifice. The cervical canal along with the vagina is termed as birth canal. Birth canal. I hope this video you might have liked, and I assure you that after end of this video you can attend any type of NEET questions related to uterus. Thanks for watching, and like, share, subscribe our channel.